All right, let's start with the big story that we are tracking on WION at this hour, where the government has tabled the Economic Survey 2019-2020 in the Parliament just a little while back. And according to the Economic Survey, the gross domestic product growth, the GDP growth, is projected to be about 7% in the coming financial year. That is for the year 2019-2020. Now, prepared by the Chief Economic Advisor, Krishnamurthy Subramanian, today's economic survey is, of course, the first by the re-elected Narendra Modi government. Now, the release of the Economic Survey 2018-2019 comes just a day ahead of the presentation of the Union budget in the Parliament. Typically, an economic survey provides a policy perspective for the Union government. Now, the new Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, tabled the survey in the Rajya Sabha.
Papers to be laid on the table. Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman.
Sir, with your permission, I rise to lay the papers mentioned against my name at serial number 1 in the revised list of business today.
All right, now for more on this, we are joined in by my colleague Sumit Chaturvedi, who tracks all the news from the world of business very, very closely, and also to discuss and shed more perspective on this economic survey that's been tabled. We're also joined by Mr. Mohan Guruswamy, who's been a former advisor to the Finance Minister and also is the chairman and founder of Centre for Policy Alternative, who's joining us live now. Sumit, let me begin by asking you this. Give us some insights into some of the latest information that is coming out in terms of the economic survey that's been tabled.
Absolutely, Saleh. To begin with some salient points. The first important point here is that FY20 GDP growth forecast is at 7%. Well, that is something which is there, which is actually not a very, we can say that not a bad news for Indian economy, because now some positive factors are going to push Indian economy towards this side. First of all is definitely the political stability that has been mentioned in economic survey. Lower oil prices, another relief that could come, and after all, another big thing could be overall good positive factors for the economy. But on the negative side, well, there could be monsoon if it is not well. Also, global trade tensions that can pull down exports. These are the factors. State of the economy in a broad term, it looks like this.
Absolutely, indeed. So we do continue to stay on with this. And let me now get in Mr. Mohan Guruswamy. Sir, according to the economic survey that's just been tabled, it is predicted that India will grow at a rate of about 7% in terms of its GDP for the coming financial year. How do you see this forecast panning out, sir?
I don't think much of this forecast. We've seen such forecasts before. And this forecast doesn't take into account what the entire world is saying about the rate at which the economy is growing, including the multilateral institutions, including what the last CEA said. This is not going to do 7%. This is wishful thinking. And, and we're going to see how they intend to achieve this 7% without seeing that it will be difficult. One shouldn't comment, but on the face of it, I can't see a sudden and abrupt rise in savings rate. I can't see a sudden rise in investment GDP ratio. So I can't see how it's going to be done. Besides, we've had a patchy monsoon as it is, and the month of June has been 37% deficient in the whole country, and that's where the sowing season takes place. So whether the farmers are going to sow again in July is to be seen, and how much the July sowing would take root is also
absolutely indeed. Mr. Mohan Guruswamy, I just have to interrupt you there because the Finance Minister is just addressing the Rajya Sabha. Let's listen in to what the Finance Minister has to say.
Malayalam, Manipuri, Marathi, Oriya, Punjabi, Tamil, Telugu and Urdu. The candidates will, in addition to English and Hindi, also have the option to choose the regional language of the state that they have opted for from among the above languages as their medium of examination. This change shall be implemented from the mains examination of CRP RRB 8, which is 2019, this year onwards. Thank you.
Item number 10, Sri Arjun Meghwal. Honorable Speaker, sir, on behalf of my colleague Prahlad Joshi, I rise to move the following. That this House do agree with the second report of the Business Advisory Committee presented to the House on 3rd July 2019. Thank you.
प्रश्न ये कि सभा 3 जुलाई 2019 को सभा में प्रस्तुत
कार्य मंत्रणा समिति के द्वितीय प्रतिवेदन से सहमत है, जो सदस्य प्रस्ताव के पक्ष में।
Take a look at this year's survey, the economic survey that has been prepared by the Chief Economic Advisor, Mr. Krishnamurthy Subramanian. This is, of course, his very first economic survey that he's presented. Let's listen in to what he had to say before the survey was tabled in the Parliament.
Our team has put in a lot of effort with a lot of dedication. So I hope that the results are very good and we're able to contribute to the ideas for the economy. And I hope actually that the Almighty blesses us with His blessings.
All right, so that was Mr. Subramanian there stating that this is the economic survey that's been presented. And Mr. Guruswamy, if I can bring you in on this. Now, the fact of the matter is this is the second term of the Narendra Modi government, which has come back with such a huge landslide majority. Can we expect some big-ticket reforms to be announced tomorrow, considering the present status of the Indian economy? Or do you think Nirmala Sitharaman will in fact resort to what is described as an incremental approach to try and ramp up India's growth?
Well, I don't think much is going to happen this year because most of the year is already over. 6 months are gone. And what is she going to do in this quarter, which will affect the third, fourth quarter so much that GDP figures will rise? So I think we're going to accept that this will be a sub 6% year by their calculations.
Right.
And if Arvind Subramanian's opinion has to be taken, then we're actually doing 2.5% less than that. So we're talking about 3.5%. So that's the kind of level we are really at now. And I think if the government realizes that things are bad, then they'll be able to do something. But if you have a government which is living in some kind of a fool's paradise, who thinks that everything is hunky-dory and the economy is floating high, and they won't be able to do it. So it's a clear sign that they're out of touch with reality.
Right, right, interesting points there. And also, I would like to stress upon one of the important targets that has been set as a part of this economic survey, where, according to the economic survey, India would like to become a $5 trillion economy by the year 2025. And for India to do this, it has to grow by about 8% year on year for the next 6-7 years. Do you think India is on the trajectory of achieving this target?
No, I think you have to actually do 13.5% nominal growth, and that is not going to happen. Not with this kind of investment GDP ratios, not with this kind of savings GDP ratio. Savings ratio is down to 28%. You need 3% savings ratio to do that. And that's not going to happen in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. This is going to it's a long haul now. We've missed an opportunity. We have effectively missed 10 years, the second term of UPA 2 and the first term of NDA Modi. And so 10 years have gone by. And we're going to recover what we lost in those 10 years. First, before we come back to this trajectory, and this is all wishful thinking, therefore it upsets me that they are not willing to grapple with reality still.
Very strong points there. And also, one of the other things that a lot of people are looking at with concern is the fact that India's economic growth has been slowing down because of the sluggishness in terms of domestic demand. Do you think the government will be willing to actually bite the bullet and try take on the domestic consumption that's actually been slowing down over the course of the last few quarters? For instance, we saw the number of automobiles that have been sold. That has come down. The FMCG industry has put out figures that are less than enthusiastic. Is the government in a position at this point of time to try and overturn that tide?
Look, consumption is not the only reason why the economy is slowing down. The economy is slowing down because there's no investment. If there is investment, there would be consumption.
Right.
Here. Now, if you want consumption, all you have to do is give another pay commission report, increase everybody's salaries of 25 million people by another 25%, and you get your consumption. But is that the way to go? How many pay commissions will you keep giving? You've created a micro-elite now which already takes up 11.5% of GDP. Which is a government service. Today we saw 2 lakh women applying for the positions of 100 jawans in the army.
Absolutely.
So that's because they're high-paid jobs. So, let's deal with the problems. The problem is investment, not consumption.
Absolutely,
and this consumption fed is a chimera put up by the government to justify higher wages and ever-increasing wages to do GDP growth rate. But that is not your problem. How are you going to address income inequality? How are you going to address lawlessness in the countryside? All these things have to be done. You just can't keep talking about growth all the time and saying consumption-led. There is no consumption-led growth forever. The party has to end.
I think that's a very significant point that you've made, and let me take that across to Sumit Chaturvedi. Sumit, Mr. Mohan Guruswamy has, of course, made a very significant point. One of the biggest challenges that this government will have is to try get in investments. Do you see any substantial kind of announcements that could be made tomorrow that will bring in more investments into India?
Well, it looks difficult at this moment, Saleh, because a lot of things have to be kept in mind because global trade wars are there. One factor we could earlier take opportunity of and we could actually, in a way, do something good about was trade wars. But we don't have anything special to offer to the factory owners who want to shift from China to India, especially really don't offer anything special. So tomorrow, if they want to take any advantage of global trade wars and want to attract some manufacturers who don't want to risk being in China, they should announce something, some stops for the some shifting of factories from China to India. For that, they have to make attractiveness, create attractiveness for the Indian ecosystem as investment is concerned. But a lot of things have already happened, but on the ground, nothing much have been seen. So I don't expect much things to happen tomorrow, though it's likely that tomorrow's budget could be rural and agri sector focused.
I think that's an important point that you've made. And Mr. Guruswamy, one of the biggest issues that a lot of people, in fact, spoke about in terms of what the government needs to, in fact, do. We seem to have lost that line with Mr. Mohan Guruswamy. We'll try get him back online. But Sumit, let me address that question to you. The question that was asked is, where are the jobs? Now, the data that was put out, it said that, India's unemployment problem is perhaps the most acute in the last 45 years. Can the government actually now do something that will turn things around?
Well, yes, jobless growth has been one of the impediments for India's overall economy. That has been, in fact, pointed out by economists again and again. And tomorrow there could be some stops we can expect stops for startup sector that can create jobs. There could be some more additional jobs in government sector only that will also lead to some kind of job creation. So these steps could be announced tomorrow in the budget. Startup sector has actually led to some good job creation so far in the country.
Absolutely. We'll have to leave there. Thank you very much indeed.